Hi there, I'm Sipka, and this is the Apatros review. Now I'm going to take a one-episode break from the Apatros Action 52 Masochist. In this episode we take a look at Flesh Feast, which was a really awful movie that came out in 1970. It was one of the very first 70s exploitation films. Now this film premiered in Florida, in the area of St. Petersburg, on the 8th of April 1970. It's an American production, obviously. And the director was Brad F. Grinter, who wrote the original story and the screenplay with Thomas Casey, and he and V.L. Grinter produced the film, and the photography was done by Thomas Casey. The cast includes Veronica Lake, that famous 1940s femme fatale, Phil Philbin, Heather Hughes, Doug Foster, Harry Cohen, Brad Towns, and Deke Parsons. Now this film has been in the public domain for decades, but that being said, it is a little difficult to track down a good quality copy. At the time of this review, there is a print on YouTube that I watched for this review, and that has fairly bad picture quality. Now, this ultra-low budget science fiction horror flick was the final role of the famed 1940s femme fatale Veronica Lake, who had been taking a toll on her career and personal health thanks to her love for the bottle. She was an extremely heavy drinker, let me put it that way. While most people will be left scratching their heads as to what prompted Lake to star in this impoverished horror schlocker, I personally believe that she may have wanted to revive her career, but didn't have too much of a chance to pull it off, as the offers back then would have been rather negligible at best. In fact, before this, she actually starred in a film in 1966, which was pretty much forgotten about, didn't do any business, and this was her very last role, and she died 3 years after Flesh Feast was released. Now, in Flesh Feast, which was released, like I said, three years before Lake would meet her end, thanks to cirrhosis of the liver, and her very last film appearance, she plays a stereotypical mad scientist, who in this one is perfecting an experiment which appears to be a fountain of youth style experiment, but using flesh-eating maggots to eat away old skin and leave behind fresh younger skin of the subject. No way that shit is scientifically plausible. You will literally have bad luck using leeches to suck tainted blood out of your subjects, and that is a legit medical procedure. Maggots are useless in medical stuff. Anywho, a mad doctor has been financially backed by a group of revolutionaries based in South America, where some aging German nationalists are trying to overthrow the local governments and revive the Third Reich. Their leader, who is only referred to as the commander, turns out to be the Austrian painter who happens to be still alive, who needs Lake's experiment to help him wind back the clock in his health. But Lake's experiment has a secret second purpose. Since her mother was subjected to a fatal experiment at the hands of the SS, our scientist is determined to have the Führer pay for his actions, by running a parallel experiment where she trains a separate batch of maggots to feast on the flesh of selected humans. In the meantime, a CIA agent, undercover as a tabloid newspaper editor, and his inside agent, posing as a nurse in the experiment, are trying to expose the whole operation. Their quest has a ticking clock after an informant was murdered in the local airport. The whole film looks like it was shot in a private mansion, with the bedrooms being somewhat unconvincingly disguised to look like hospital wards, and actors clearly have trouble with their material as there is very little to flesh out their characters here, with the exception of Veronica Lake, who puts in a performance that belongs in the 1970s exploitation mad science hall of fame. The pace is a bit too slow, which along with the lack of action really puts a dampener on the viewer's enjoyment prospects. The filmmakers put their gamble on having the film's whole story hinge on a twist ending regarding the commander's identity, but this is a gamble that lost big time. In the annals of 20th century German nationalist exploitation, this is perhaps the worst of the bunch, which is kind of sad to see, as those bastards were the perfect horror villains, due to their real-life catalogue of horrors. So I'm going to give Flesh Feast the D-, 1 out of 10. It's a terrible film. Sad to see Veronica Lake go on in this fashion. Now for nudity. To be honest, despite the grisly premise, there is very little gore here, outside of a female corpse's leg being cut off and decaying limbs being hung on hooks in the laboratory. In fact, the index picture for this video is actually a screenshot from that room. I put a little joke there in the captions. There's no nudity here. Okay, hope you guys enjoy that. So Flesh Feast gets D-, 1 out of 10. It's atrocious. Now with the next episode, I'm going to return to the Apatros Action 52 Masochist. And if you have any questions about films or games in general, just hit me up in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer. Hope you guys are staying safe, take it easy, and that's it for this review. See ya.